There's a particular kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing all of the right things, for all of the wrong reasons. You show up, you listen, you adjust. You sense when the energy in a room shifts and you quietly rearrange yourself. So no one else has to feel uncomfortable. And from the outside, this looks like warmth. It looks like care, it looks like you being remarkably attuned to the people around you. But from the inside, if you're honest, it often feels like something closer to work. A kind of invisible labor that never quite finishes. And even after everything you give, you sometimes walk away from the people you love most feeling completely unseen. That's the paradox no one talks about. The people who give the most, who feel everything, who hold space for everyone, are often the loneliest people in the room. Not because they're surrounded by bad people, but because at some point, without fully realizing it, they started making themselves easier to love, rather than actually being loved. If that sentence landed somewhere in your chest, stay with this video. Because this isn't about telling you that you're too sensitive, or that you need to care less. It's about something much more specific than that. It's about what happens when you start to notice what's actually been driving your giving, and what that clarity asks of you. Let me describe something, and you tell me if it sounds familiar. You're in a conversation, maybe with a friend, a partner, someone in your family, and you sense that they're a little off. Maybe they seem irritated, or distant, or disappointed. You don't know why, they haven't said anything. But something in you immediately activates, you start scanning. Replaying the last few things you said. Asking yourself whether you did something. Adjusting your tone, softening your words, finding ways to smooth things over, even before you understand what's actually wrong. And sometimes nothing is wrong. Sometimes they're just tired. But you've already spent 20 minutes quietly, trying to fix something that didn't need fixing. Or this, someone asks you what you want to do, where you want to eat, how you'd like to spend the afternoon. And you genuinely don't know, not because you're indecisive, but because you've been deferring to everyone else's preferences for so long that your own have gone quiet. You've stopped listening for them. Or this, you leave a difficult conversation feeling like you were the problem. Even when you know, somewhere underneath, that you weren't, you apologize anyway. Or you reach out first to repair things, even when you were the one who was hurt. And you tell yourself it's because you value the relationship. And maybe that's true. But there's also something else underneath that you haven't quite named yet. There's also the resentment, the quiet, uncomfortable kind that you feel guilty for having. You help, you accommodate, you show up, and then later alone, you feel this low hum of bitterness that you don't know what to do with, so you push it down. You remind yourself that you chose to help, you tell yourself you're being ungrateful. But you're not being ungrateful. You're being honest, and the resentment is telling you something important. Here's what's actually happening underneath all of this: people-pleasing isn't a personality trait, it's not simply that you care more than other people. Or that you were born more sensitive, it's a learned strategy. One that was built, probably a long time ago, to help you navigate situations where your needs felt unsafe to express. Where keeping the peace was more important than being honest, where love felt conditional on how easy you were to be around. At some point, your nervous system learned a very clear equation: when I make you comfortable, I am safe. That equation made sense once, it may have even been necessary. But you're still running it now, in relationships where the original threat no longer exists, and the cost of running it has been accumulating for years. Here's what that cost looks like: you've slowly lost access to yourself. Not dramatically, not all at once. But gradually, through 1,000 small moments of overriding what you actually felt in order to manage someone else's experience. You've become very good at reading other people, and very out of practice at reading yourself. And here's the part that's hard to say, a lot of what you've called caring has actually been fear wearing the face of love. That's not a condemnation. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's just what happens when a person learns early that their needs are an inconvenience. They find a way to stop needing, or more precisely, they find a way to stop showing that they need. They become the one who gives, the one who helps, the one who holds things together. Because that role feels safe, that role keeps people close. The problem is that it also keeps people at a distance. Because no one, not even the people who love you, can truly reach a version of you that's always performing okay. And that's the loneliness underneath the busyness. Not the loneliness of being alone. The loneliness of being surrounded by people who know the accommodating version of you but not the actual one. So what happens when you start to stop? When the people-pleasing begins to loosen, even slightly. The first thing you feel is not relief, it's anxiety. A kind of waiting. You've stopped smoothing things over and now, you're bracing for consequences that don't come, or that come in quieter, more uncomfortable forms. And in that discomfort, the truth starts to become visible. Some people in your life respond with curiosity. Some respond with discomfort, some push back, some don't notice at all. And each of these responses tells you something about the actual nature of that relationship, information you couldn't access before. Because you've been working so hard to keep everyone comfortable that you never let anything be tested. This is the part where I want to slow down. Because there's a conclusion that's easy to draw here, and it's understandable. But it's also not quite right. When you begin to see this pattern clearly, when you start to understand that some of the relationships in your life have been built on the version of you that never asked for anything, there's a pull toward a particular kind of conclusion. It sounds something like, so none of it was real, I've been used. I should pull back from everyone, connection itself is the problem. And I want to gently say, that's the pattern trying to protect you again, just in a different costume. Isolation, emotional withdrawal, deciding you don't need people. That's not the opposite of people-pleasing. It's the same fear, choosing a different exit. Instead of staying and managing everyone, you leave and manage alone. But you're still organizing your life around the avoidance of vulnerability. You've just changed the setting. The real work, which is harder, and slower, and less dramatic, is learning to stay present with people while also staying honest with yourself. Here's what's actually true: the problem was never that you loved people too much. The problem was that you couldn't afford to let yourself be seen while loving them. You gave from a hidden place. You showed up wearing an edited version of yourself. And some relationships thrived on that edited version, because the edited version was endlessly agreeable, and never made demands. Those relationships deserve to be looked at honestly. Not with bitterness, but clearly. But not every relationship in your life has been built on your self-erasure. Some people, maybe not many, but some, would have stayed for the real version of you. If you'd ever let her be there, the only way to find out is to let her start showing up. Imperfectly, gradually, without a big announcement. Stopping the pleasing is not about becoming cold, it's about becoming honest, and those are very different things. So what does this actually look like? Not in theory, but in real life, on an ordinary Tuesday, in the middle of a conversation that isn't going quite right. It starts small, it starts with a pause. There's a moment, and once you start watching for it, you'll find it, right before you override yourself. Before you agree to something you don't want to agree to. Before you say, no worries, when you have several. Before you rearrange your schedule to accommodate someone who didn't ask if you had plans. There is a half second in there where, you know what you actually feel. And then the old habit comes in and covers it. The first step is just to notice that moment. You don't have to act differently yet, you don't have to say anything, just notice. There it is, that's the place where I disappear. The second thing that changes is your relationship to discomfort. Specifically, to other people's discomfort. Because one of the things keeping the pattern in place is the belief, usually unconscious, that when someone is upset or disappointed, it is your job to fix it, immediately, completely. But other people's disappointment is not always a signal that you did something wrong. Sometimes it's just information about what they wanted. And those are not the same thing. Learning to tolerate that discomfort, to let someone feel something, without rushing to resolve it for them, is genuinely difficult. It's not about becoming cold. It's about learning where you end and where someone else begins. And most people pleasers have never been given clear permission to know that line exists. What starts to happen, as this shift settles in, is that your relationships begin to give you real information. When you express a preference, and someone dismisses it, you notice. When you set a limit and someone respects it, you notice that too. When you let a moment of conflict sit for a day, instead of immediately smoothing it over, you start to see how the other person moves toward you, or doesn't. These things tell you who the people in your life actually are, outside of the version you've been carefully maintaining. And here's what might surprise you, some relationships get closer. Because for the first time, the other person is responding to something real. Not the managed, accommodating version. The actual one. What you're moving toward is not independence from people. It's the ability to be in relationships without losing yourself inside them. To be warm and honest at the same time. To offer your care as a genuine choice, not as something you owe in exchange for being accepted. That is what genuine connection actually requires, not the performance of it, the real thing. Before you close this video, here's the only thing I'd like to offer you. This week, try to notice one moment, just one, where you're about to agree to something, or accommodate something, or apologize for something. And in that moment, before you do it, ask yourself one question. Am I doing this because I want to, or because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't? You don't have to change your answer, you don't have to act differently, not yet. Just sit with the question honestly. Because the ability to tell the difference between what you freely choose and what you do out of fear, that's not a small thing. That's the beginning of knowing yourself again. And that's worth something. If something in this video felt true to you, you're not alone. Here at Soul Constellation, we explore the hidden struggles of HSP and empaths, not to make you feel special, or separate from other people, but to help you understand yourself more honestly. Subscribe if this kind of depth is what you're looking for. And before you go, leave a comment. Is there a relationship in your life where you've been giving from fear instead of from genuine choice? You don't have to name who, just notice if you know the answer. You don't need the answer to be clean yet, just naming it is already a beginning. Until next time, take care of your energy. And stay close to what's actually yours.